Oh, very good. And if we go to the next slide, that'd be great.
You have to say hello first.
Oh, hello. I think we are good. So here's our agenda: intros from chapter business, EV events, some news. Don't know if we have a topic on the monthly media, Meg. I don't know if I saw that in the chat. Maybe to say.
We're working on it.
Something we should probably,
Oh, yeah.
we should probably fix the agenda, maybe. And then there's a presentation and open discussion. I think we'll do the. Generally, our rule is to do the open discussion kind of as we go, and somebody has to manage the time, but we'll just do the open discussion together.
By the way, we had changed the deck at one point. We put the open discussion towards the tail end because the presenter never got the presentations. We bullshit so much.
What do you mean? What do you mean, we, Kimosabe? All right. Next slide. Okay, so Don, did you want to say anything about Thunderstruck? I appreciate it, you guys hosting us here. We generally have started having the meetings here on a monthly basis and been doing that for as long as I know, a decade or so, at least. On and off for a decade. So anything you want to say?
Well, sure. I work at Thunderstruck and John. I'm Hollis, the owner. He offers this to us as we need it, so that's very great. Things that we talked about, other things that there are.
To go to the next slide.
There are active things in the room that have those contacts and power sources and stuff. So just if you look around, you are not to touch things that might have electrical.
A pack of batteries right here, for example.
Yeah.
Plus a here and negative there.
Setting tools on top of the batteries.
Can you imagine a corporation saying that?
Yeah, just don't touch.
They say our lawyers are.
Yeah.
Once we get incorporated, then we'll have something.
And then if you need to go to the restroom, it's just basically back there behind the stairs. And then if somebody does touch something and something made out of lithium goes, we just leave. We'll try to find it out. Just go.
Like American Airlines.
And just leave it at the big door. I would run. And we do have some new members today, so welcome. Thanks for joining us and presence. I think you're on the Zoom sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's some new members here. So we'll get to the introductions in a second. Next slide. All right, which is the introduction. So introduce yourself, and then what is your favorite charging or rest area? So let's go online first. Ellen, how about you?
Yeah, sure. I love this question. I'm Ellen. Hi, everyone. I live in Santa Rosa. I drive a 2017 Chevy Bolt. And favorite charging or rest area would have to be the Hornbrook rest area in far northern California. It has a free charge point fast charger, and there's a little river right there, bathroom shade, picnic benches. Anyway, it's a great spot. I recommend everyone check out. And I'll pass it to Cecilia.
Okay, Cecilia Sullivan, President Emeritus of NBEAA. My favorite rest stop, I guess it's sort of a convenience thing, is it has a supercharger in Kettleman City where there's a bunch of charging stalls. And there's a lounge, and the thing about the lounge that's really nice is that there are lots of restrooms. You don't even have to go inside the lounge. You have restrooms outside as well. So that's nice. And I think that's everyone that is on currently.
All right, very good. Start with you, Mike Powell. Mike Newell.
Let's see. I'm going to be looking for a new favorite rest stop because I wasn't here last month because my daughter's now married and moved to North Carolina. So
oh boy! All right, road trips are in your future.
Long
Yeah.
What
was the name of that book? That
15 miles a time, all the way to.
what was that book that came out in the mid-90s about the person that bought a car from a U.S. electric car? And she got to, in Santa Rosa or Petaluma, and she got to Petaluma and realized she needed to charge.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So,
Very good. Thanks, man.
I'm Henry. I have a Tesla. And lately, I mean, it's not a rest stop, but I'm enjoying parking at the level 2s at the Target in Petaluma because they're free. And with PG&E's rates this year, I'm looking for all the good charging.
52 cents is starting to hurt, huh?
You know, I'm at 64 feet,
64 feet.
34 off feet, but still, you know, free. So, you know, I got to go shop at Target and take the dog to that.
Yeah.
Get $1 worth of free charging.
Yeah.
That's
good.
good. In 2018, a friend of mine put up a day, 2018. The battery, is it popped up on you?
I replaced mine at about 3.5 years, and that's kind of the for at least you know those older ones. Yeah, 3.5 years.
It's impossible. It's like I can't figure out what the 12-volt battery was doing
It would kill it.
that would kill it because in most cases, 12-volt is being generated by the system to turn on.
Yeah.
And there's no starters.
And I don't. Nobody that has a good explanation.
The warning was that was a lead acid. My friend was trying to replace it with phosphate.
Yeah,
don't do that.
No, you gotta match it up because it cares about the voltage levels and stuff, and it will charge. Just to say, it's still the Achilles heel for the it needs canvas and canvas needs to have.
And I have to tell you that when Caleb and I were for buses and trucks, the most common thing we had to fix was the 12-volt system because the computers wouldn't run. When I got my 2018 Leaf, it was towed to the shop 3 times in the first month. And all 3 times it was a 12-volt system until we finally found out that the harness was 12-volt.
Okay, Bernie Dolan, and I have a Model 3. My favorite charging place is Gilroy, not because there's anything nice about Gilroy, but it's halfway between me and the kids.
There you go. Yeah.
So
That's great.
we stop there a lot. I say halfway, actually, it's most of the way there. It's still on the route, and it's good. And I would like to say that my wife's got a Leaf she drives, and it's a 2015, and she just had it in, and they're going to give it a whole new battery pack. Wow! That's
A 9-year-old car, new battery.
yeah.
Wow. What did you say or do to who to earn that?
The warranty ends in October for us.
Oh.
And so they just, she commented that we were only getting 70 miles in the charge now. And so they asked us to check it out.
Wow.
And,
8 year, 100,000 mile,
and Nissan is okay.
70% or something, 80%.
Yep.
All right. Yeah.
I thought that was a requirement.
And of course,
I didn't realize that was just.
Yeah.
that was that, we bought that Nissan. It was a real deal. It was the one from the Sonoma Clean Car where Sonoma gave you like 10,000 off, and Nissan gave you 10,000 off.
Wow.
We ended up, it was a $34,000 car with we spent about 11,000.
Wow.
Just the price of the battery. Yeah, but you admitted to us what your electric bill was running.
Yeah.
And you have the wrong schedule, so you're paying extra. So.
Yeah, that's right. So Sonoma Clean Power is doing it back.
Yeah, by the way, you didn't teach the schedule, you have to read the schedule. We need the schedule.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Sonia.
I'm next. My name's Sonia. I'm treasurer this year.
No, you gotta leave me the other way.
Oh, sorry. Here I am. And let's see. My favorite charging location would be in Shasta. There's a bank of superchargers there. can't recall if there are also some other fast chargers, but it's right next to a hotel, and you can just wander into the hotel and use that. And it's like a block from a Black Bear Diner and 2 blocks from downtown. Yeah, it's a nice spot right in the chest.
I'm Jerry Glazer, and I have a 2018 Nissan Leaf and a
That's the one, 2023. Yeah,
86.
Yeah.
And the Leaf seldom would ever charge the Leaf at public spaces. They never needed it except when I go down south to the South Bay and back again. Maybe one long road trip with it and stopped it at a company I'd never heard of before. Solid that. It's Starbucks. Absolutely great. But the Kia, the 86, since it came with free charging for 3 years, every time we take a road trip, we try to use it here in town. Most of the way we put 13,000 miles on the 86 in the first year. I didn't know throw that
Right.
That's such an easy car to drive. My favorite stations in the area. Number one is Walmart by Home Depot, North Park, because it's just so easy and nobody else knows about it. It's about 150 kilowatt. I was trying to use the one at the mall downtown Santa Rosa. That's 350, but the problem with it turns out to be that it's like Christmas shopping, whatever else they won't let you park there. So I gave up on that one. And the handiest one that's 350 close to us is in the bottom. And that one usually is running at these at 8 stations. 350 delivers 350. And Starbucks is just over 3 steps away. And so in 12 minutes, you can fill up your 86. It is if you're going to San Francisco or going to South Bay. You've done a trip. Otherwise, you charge the garage. Oh, I'm only using electrified car. Yeah.
It's Carl, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a 2016 Chevy Bolt. And I also have a 1976 Honda Civic that I converted to electric myself. As far as favorite charging stations, I haven't used them yet. If you want my Women's Cafe, I'm going to want to. Seems pretty interesting. My daughter's going to be transferred. I'll probably be there.
So Carl, when we do public facing events, John has the red truck out front that he converted with his daughter Ellen. We get a lot of attention on that. I'm sure there'd be as much public attention on yours if you wanted somebody to lighten the load, John. If you're willing to do that, that'd be great. People love. We have a lot of people that are very interested in conversions. And
Yeah, we can super.
yeah, exactly. So if that'd be something you're interested in or willing to do, that'd be great. John?
Yeah, I'm John Houlemard. Ellen and I are related. We both converted our collector. I hate to repeat what Ellen said, but I'm not so worried that last best area before Brighton. Right at the bottom of it on the hill, and two charge point chargers, CFC, and that's great.
Those are Caltrans provided. Right?
Yeah. I learned that Caltrans. There's a couple more. There's some in the Sacramento Valley that people see.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about that. South leg of I-5, all the way going over to so this is a number of 3,000.
So my brother works for Caltrans. I may have mentioned he's the Smart Streets coordinator for the at the state level, and a lot of those chargers were put in under guy before this guy. Moonbeam.
Jerry Brown.
Jerry Brown, thank you.
Yeah.
Jerry Brown, when Jerry Brown pushed all us, made the mandate to have 1 million vehicles by 2025, which would be 2 years early. Part of that was pushing these chargers out by Caltrans because they didn't expect industry to do what they've done, Electron America and all the other announcements that they made. So, he gets when he is on his road trips, he gets a state-issued Tesla Model 3 or a Bolt, and he goes uses that as work vehicle. It's just great. He charges there. So, yeah, right. Hi.
Probably.
Yeah, just that's right. Yeah, good.
Well, actually, after hearing Bernie's story about the 2015, I'm starting to have the wheels turn in my head that might be a good idea.
Yeah.
No, it's 20 years old.
Yeah. Good. Welcome.
I'm Vincent.
Hey, Vincent.
I'm student. I'm coming to
Okay. Well, okay, perfect. Well, there you go. There's the conversion row.
Yeah, my name is Matt. This is my son, Vincent. We've both taken class at San College, and it's on the automotive program. So and anyway, yeah. When I win the lotto, I win it for the and so I've been interested in electric vehicles for a long time. I think it's great for the environment. I think it's a good plan for the future. And anything I can do to assist and help that direction, that's what I'm all for. But I don't have any favorite charging places.
He's not charging.
I'm freaking electric.
Yeah, right.
Do we currently have classes of the dermatologists for?
Oh yeah, for electric vehicles. Yeah, but hybrid electric vehicles. Yeah, they do. And Santa Rosa Junior College is amping up for a big program. Yeah, because there's the supply and demand of techs that that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
It's in Santa Rosa. Yeah, and college and Marin, they've been doing it for a while. They have a switch vehicle now. Yeah, and so, but that thing, program, it went through phases of being placed in operation. So that vehicle. Ironically, it has lithium-ion batteries. Yet they weren't even charged for several years, and you checked them, and they were all good. But the lead acid battery was shot.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that happens.
After the long layoff, they were charged.
We've got
But anyway.
all right. Well, we'll welcome.
Also, surprised. Also, emergency. You guys see the advertisement about a company so on that gives you advice and kits for $7,000 with 77 kilowatt battery.
For $7,000 bucks?
$7,000
For 77 kilowatts?
Yeah, it's the kit.
Where do I sign up?
Put it in your house, yeah.
They said any kind of vehicle.
Yeah.
They'll give you advice on it.
All right, we've got a couple folks have joined us on the phone. Lawrence, did you want to? Yeah, thanks, Cecilia. The prompt is please everyone in person. Oh, right, he can't hear us. Okay, I got this. Gotcha. I'll see if I can move this thing forward. I don't know if this will help.
Boy, we hear us pretty well.
Yeah. Lawrence, the prompt is, where's your favorite place to charge? And introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Lawrence. I live down here in Palo Alto.
Hey, Lawrence, maybe if you could go off a video,
in South
just one
Bay.
voice.
Often I drive.
Hey, Lawrence, you're breaking up really bad. If you could just go on voice, that'd be great. Maybe we save some bandwidth that way. And I think we already lost it. Yeah, we lost it.
Okay. Can you hear me any better?
Yeah, that's better. No, not good, Lawrence.
Great. We'll try that. Okay, Lawrence, Palo Alto. Maybe I'll check in later.
Okay, great. And I forget it. Did Russ already go?
Russ did not go yet.
Russ, why don't you go ahead and go? And maybe he stepped away. So I'm Dom Houlemard.
Why don't you go in scope so we can see you?
All right, I'll stand up back over here. Yeah, so I'm Dom Houlemard. I'm the president of the North Bay Electric Auto Association. And let's see, I think my favorite place to charge is in Bridgeport. Oh, welcome. You snuck in. It's up in Bridgeport. It's halfway between here and my son's place in Mammoth. And when you charge at Bridgeport, there's 4 stations there behind the Shell station. And the backdrop is the Eastern Sierras. It's probably just as pretty as the place that Ellen was talking about in terms of absolute gorgeousness. The stations aren't generally blocked, and I forget if they're 150 or 350. I think they're 150, but you're there. It's plenty fast. And what's you go? Yeah, so the prompt is your name, and then what's your favorite place to charge, if you have one. Oh, welcome. Oh, perfect. Wayne, welcome. John, you have customers now. Actually, sponsoring this, you have customers, John. So you better hand out cards. All right. Hey, Russ is back. Hey, Russ.
Hi. Sorry, I don't know this phone very well. I'm Russ from Petaluma. I drive a 2015 Kia Soul, and my favorite place to charge is my driveway.
No one took that one yet.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Cecilia, if we go back to the slides.
Oh, do you want to go back to Lawrence?
Yeah, thank you. Lawrence, are you there?
I am. I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so I'm here in Palo Alto, South Bay. I drive a 2019 Bolt EV on long trips and occasionally around town. It's my girlfriend's car. My favorite place to park is on the street in front of our place, which requires a few minutes of rolling out a 12-gauge extension cord. It's actually plugged into 240 through a GFCI off of a dual voltage hair dryer, which is good to 15 amps, but we only draw 12. And then we use the car charger that came with it, which is says it's good for 120 volts, about 11 or 12 miles per hour of range. And it's parked on the street in front of the house. Have a little wood ramp, wood and rubber and PVC ramp for getting the cord across the, what do you call it, a sidewalk with not obstructing people with small wheels such as rollerblades and scooters going over. So anyways, that's my favorite, but usually it gets charged at my girlfriend's place of employment. She spent a few years getting chargers put in there, so she's really happy to use them, even though she pays twice as much as she would at home for the electricity.
All right, thank you, Lawrence. Hey, Caleb. Thanks.
My second favorite place to charge is at the Camp Roberts rest area, where there's off-grid solar fast chargers. They've got 4 panels, each over a different parking spot, and then all wired together for one fast charger. And it's free, and every time we've been there, they've been available, and there's been power because people haven't used it all up recently.
Hey, Caleb, the question today is, who are you and what's your favorite place to charge or rest?
So Caleb, I live in Aliso Viejo down Orange County. So my favorite place to charge previously was at home, but Volkswagen bought my Volkswagen ID4 back for lots of issues. So now I don't have anything to charge for the moment except for maybe my cell phone.
This might be the first time in your life that you have nothing to charge.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's been over 13 years since I haven't had an electric, like since I've been driving electric. So now I have a bicycle, so I will pedal myself around.
We'd love to hear about your challenges with the ID4 if we get a chance later.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Next slide. So this really hasn't changed. The ABA's mission is to educate and advocate for the rapid adoption of electric vehicles, and that hasn't changed at all. There's a few emails that we push out through the NBEAA club form an email, 3 emails per month. Jerry sends out a note a day and a week in advance, and then one couple days after this meeting to kind of wrap up what we discussed, and then point to the video. There's always a video made of our meetings. And then we've got a Facebook group, and Cecilia keeps that populated with activity. So if you haven't been on our website lately, there's just an enormous amount of resources, both at the local and national level. So if you get a chance to take a look here.
Yeah, just one thing to bring up about it. And this was, we had a request from somebody outside the club for information and was trying to get hold of members. And it looks like on our website, when they respond to ask a member, it goes to the group team, which is actually the news feed. So a very small group of us. I suggest we change the website so it goes to discuss. So those members who want to be have discussions can see those.
That's perfect.
Yeah. Right?
Is that a you thing or a Cecilia thing?
Hey. I'm sorry, Cecilia. She does such a great job of doing this. I'm afraid to touch on her.
I know. She's got the whole back end completely wired. So
Cecilia's giving us a thumbs up.
Oh, good.
Perfect. I love it. Jerry and Sonia and Cecilia are all past presidents, and they now have other officer positions. I'm the current president. Next year I will be, what is it called?
President Emeritus.
President Emeritus, and you're the President Emeritus first removed, aren't you? That's like a cousin's thing. That's right. But so we have a rotating thing. So it's you start as the VP, and then the president, and then the President Emeritus. And I think it's a bit of a Hotel California at the officers level. So we'd like to have some new folks step into the VP role to be president next year. So we are looking for a volunteer.
Yeah, I just want to point something out. When I moved up here, Alan Soleil was the president. And every year Alan would say, somebody else should be president. Somebody else should be president. This went on and on and on and on. And then Alan said, somebody has to be president. I'm leaving. I'm moving. So at that point, I volunteered to be president for 1 year, as long as we established a mechanism where nobody got stuck being president for 5 years. And that's where the vice president role shows up. So you take on the obligation of being president the next year. I have to tell you that the way it's working now with Ellen and John and everybody else contributing, the load that Alan had is distributed to many, many people. The president does take on a lead role, and it's up to the president as to how much they do. Cecilia set a new standard.
That's right. That's right.
So you don't have to go to Cecilia's standard. That's over the top, because she just did such a great job. But somebody should step in and say, hey, I'll take it on for 1 year. It's not a big deal, and everybody's in there pitching in.
Thanks, Jerry. Let's go to the next slide. Cecilia's text was, I'm regretting that precedent. Precedent.
Yeah. I can take this slide.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We've done a good job over the last 2 or 3 years
maybe longer, of putting up all of our presentations. You can speed through them. You can set them at 1.5 times if you want. And zoom to the part you like. But there's a lot of great information there. It's all accessible through NBEAA.org, but in addition, you could go straight to our YouTube channels as well and get to all of the meetings. And we put some keywords out, and so if you're interested in conversions, and we've discussed conversions, you might see which past meetings might be of interest to you.
Awesome. Next slide. So these are the communication tools that we use. NBEAA Club, which is let's see.
Want me to do this?
Yeah.
Okay. NBEAA Club is limited to a small number of us who are able to send to that, so that you all don't end up with a lot of noise throughout the month. And we just put announcements there, or if we have a vote that we have to have a vote on, it'll come out. It's only for official things. The discuss is the one where if you want to be with other members and discuss things about EVs, sign up for that group. And you send it out, goes to all those members. Everybody has the ability to sign up for it. You don't have to get approved or anything else. And then news at NBEAA.org is, you're going to see a news section. And the way we get the news is somebody says, hey, that was interesting. And you submit it through news at NBEAA. Just send an email to news@nbea.org with a link and why you think it's an interesting article. And when we're putting the program together, we'll look at that and try to fit it in.
Jerry, when you say members, do you mean the members of the Electric Vehicle Association?
No, there's two
two
different things. So you can be a member of NBEAA Club and pay nothing. You just sign up for the Google group and you'll know about meetings and what's happening. If you want to join the EVA, then change the name from EAA, the Electric Auto Association, to Electric Vehicle Association. We did not change our name because it's just too bloody complicated, changing all of the domains and everything else. So that costs. And so you have the benefit of becoming an EVA member. We like you to sign up for that because we get part of that money. But as our treasurer will tell you, we have more money than any other club in the United States because of activities we've done, the donations we've received, not just from members signing up. And I don't know what the benefits are as long as I keep signing up anyway.
Yeah, I keep signing up too. I think we have to. Cecilia used to tell us to.
As officers, you probably should.
Yeah, as officers, we should. So, but
how do you get into the discussion without signing up?
You just go on to, you know how to use Google Groups?
No.
Okay, you know how to use Google Groups. So go to groups.google.com, then say, I'm looking for the NBEAA discussion, and then say, oh, I want to join.
Yeah, because I think I clicked on the link and it brought me to a page and it said I had no groups. So I guess you gotta sign up.
For a group. And then also, the other thing is,
let's take this offline. Can we just could you just send an email to Jerry?
Is
and
anybody
Jerry
else confused about that? Brad had issues.
Yeah.
No, I have a Google account.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
You have to create a Google account as well.
Maybe Jerry, if you can share your email address, you can link in that way. Let's go to the next topic. Aha. So there's a few things coming. I think there's only 3 slides here. Let's go to the first one.
Yeah, so I created this slide here. So I attended the EV Electric Vehicle Association meeting on June 12th, and I just thought I'd share some things I learned. One thing that was interesting is the Dayton, Ohio chapter was highlighted at this meeting. And I kind of learned some interesting things about their chapter, which I wanted to share. So they've really grown a lot in the last few years. For example, in 2023, they had 40 plus events. So they're quite a big chapter in terms of members, sponsors, volunteers, events, etc. And they've recently started something called EV School, which is essentially 2 one-hour programs where they teach the basics of electric vehicles to both individuals and then dealers as well, which I thought was really kind of a cool thing that they're offering. They've also become a 501c3 and they have a sponsorship program, which is kind of neat. Anyway, I just thought that if we wanted, if we wanted to learn from them or reach out to them, they could be a really great resource for our chapter. And so then I also learned about some of the EVA benefits that are offered. I imagine, some of the leadership team here already knows about these, but there's liability insurance, revenue share, a business level Zoom, as well as a clean energy credit union. Oh, and also there's reimbursements for Drive Electric Earth Day and National Drive Electric Week. And then something new that they've started, I don't know how recently, but they now have an event calendar where any of the chapters from across the US can enter their local events into this calendar. And then that calendar is available to all, anyone in the EVA. So I thought I don't know if we're already doing that, but that might be good for us to be entering our events into that calendar. And I put a link at the bottom of the slide here where we could add events to their calendar. And they're also looking for 60-second video submissions from anyone in the EVA about why you love your EV or a recent electric vehicle road trip you took. And this is a part of their Route Zero program, which some of you may have heard of, essentially promoting really strong pollution standards across the US. And they're really doing this because consumers are most interested in learning about EVs from EV drivers. And so they really want to, I think, use these videos as a part of their Route Zero program. They also have a data team where they're looking for volunteers to help with all sorts of things to create some of the resources you may have seen at our events over on the right-hand side. Basically, it's a resource about, the current electric vehicles on the market. And so they're looking for anyone who's interested to help out on their team with like tech, database, data collection, publication designers, etc. So if anyone's interested, they're looking for volunteers to help with that. And then the last thing is they have a new address. So I just thought I'd let our team know that they've changed their PO box to a location in Cardiff, California. So anyway, those are just a few recaps on the recent meeting that I wanted to share with everyone.
Ellen, thank you for going. That's fantastic stuff. The EVA calendar, an example of that I could just see is when you go visit your kids across country, you could stop in and represent us there, right? Right. If you went to this, if you got onto the national calendar and found out there was an EVA event, you could stop in and say, "Hey, I'm NBEAA," kind of thing. Yeah, it would be a great way to build networking.
Yeah.
And subject to what the treasurer says, I think we should be able to get sponsor Bernie with a shirt. If you do that, if you decide to go on there and we had enough, I think we have about 5 or 6 shirts left. So.
Oh yeah, and then we're all
right.
like larger men's.
Yeah.
So we're a little focused in on the larger sizes. But we should distribute them.
We should be larger men.
No, when I bought shirts, I decided to err on larger sizes because they tend to fit more people. Yeah. Whose shirt are you wearing? Oh, yes. And then the other thing, stay on that one. The other thing was, Cecilia, we're going to selfishly state that you cannot volunteer to be on the data team. Right. We need your skills here.
Well,
she's thinking about it.
Don't want to restrain her.
Yeah, she's thinking about it. All right.
Question. I don't know if Ellen or anyone else knows, but does any other of the local EVA chapters put their meetings on YouTube like we do?
Yeah.
Oh, there are
some of them do.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ellen, anything else on this one?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But thank you. Yeah.
Thanks for attending.
Yeah.
Yeah, my pleasure. It was really interesting, actually.
Let's go to the next one, which I think is about an event that's coming up. So this is not an EVA sponsored event, but there's an Electrify Expo occurring in San Francisco the last weekend of August. And it's an opportunity to see basically all sorts of technologies that are in electrification space, to find out what's happening on a broader sense, not just vehicles, but scooters and bikes and whatever those single wheel things that look like they're stickers. There's a guy in Sebastopol who rides one of these single wheel things.
Yeah.
And he wears a Mandalorian helmet. The dude does about 35 miles an hour.
Yeah. Wow.
It is like, dude, it's just you and pavement. What
He's good at it.
He is quite good at it.
So I think, Ellen, didn't you find that it's actually in El Segundo or in the East Bay?
Yeah, it actually is in the Alameda, I forget what it's called, but it's actually in Alameda.
The old base.
Yeah, the actual event is not in San Francisco. They're just saying that, I think, because people often think of the whole Bay Area as San Francisco. I don't know.
This is the Oakland Airport of San Francisco. Right?
And it's all kinds of, I mean, it's not just vehicles, right?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
all sorts of electric. Yeah.
Household electrification, battery, solar, all that.
That's right. They list
Yeah,
that's
okay.
right.
All
That's
sorts
right.
of things.
Okay, so
Totally
now that
cool.
you mention it, that's how we ended up with our first EV in 1998.
Is that one of these events?
Yes, at Alameda at the air base, and we got to test drive the vehicles.
Oh, okay. Well,
I didn't realize it was going on so long.
yeah.
Wow.
Did you buy a
Yeah,
coat?
this is also the one that's, I've been to one in San Diego too.
What was that, Caleb? Go ahead.
I've been to the one that's down in San Diego as well. Jerry, you came down for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to that one. But that was like we flew down. I flew down, then he met him at his house and we drove down to. We did a presentation on it.
Yep.
Yes.
Never mind. I don't talk that.
All right, next one. So let's see. So the National Drive Electric Week is coming up 27 September to October 6th. And so these are some pictures of what we did last year. We worked alongside Selma Clean Power over at the Advanced Energy Center. I think there were a dozen or so vehicles out in front, and we had both our member vehicles, and then we had just Joe citizens drove up and parked their car with us and talked about their car. The city of Santa Rosa had their F-150 Lightning there. We've been in touch with Brant at Arthur at Selma Clean Power, and we're pretty locked in. I think we're doing it again this year. Brant and us both share, try to get more membership drive into the Latino community. So we may do a second event over here in Roseland somehow. We're still trying to sort the details of that out, but the idea is that we would do what we did at Earth Day and have two events simultaneously. So it would be an opportunity to bring your car, whether it's a conversion or your own personal vehicle. And then one of the benefits of the EVA membership is that if you bring your personal car to one of these events and anything happens to your car, that activity is covered by the EVA. It's insured by the EVA.
Is car covered, or if something happens to somebody with your car, it's covered?
I think a little of both, because it's more than liability.
It's more than okay.
So once Brant gets back, we'll push out more of the details through one of the email methods that Jerry just mentioned. and kind of ask, do a call of hands to volunteers to be willing to bring their vehicles. And usually we end up with a lot of vehicles. We do pretty good there. We usually have a lot of volunteers. So it's a fun event.
Before that event. So.
What's that? Yeah, we have another. Yeah, we have two more. We have one in August and one in September. So we have plenty of time to get there. But
also, if we are using the website for the event, there's an opportunity for folks to volunteer from outside our group as well.
Oh, that's and we had that in Earth Day here in Santa Rosa. We had some non-members volunteer as well. So. Okay.
A good way to get.
Yeah.
That pent-up demand for people that want to show their cars.
Yeah.
So that'd be great.
Yeah, especially if those guys in Dayton are doing 38 events. We've got,
Yeah,
we're getting shown.
That's all right.
We're letting the
Quality
state,
over quantity.
what's that? That's
Quality
right.
over quantity.
Well, we, you know, we're letting the government take over.
They
and,
may count the meetings as events.
oh, maybe so. Good point.
Ah.
Oh, Brad, work the day. Brad knows how to work the day. Listen to that. All right, you go to the next one then. Ah, perfect.
I slid this one in this morning. So the treasury update is that we got paid for the EV Noir consulting. That was a $2,000 consulting project that went through the winter. And we just confirmed recently that it was properly associated to our chapter. So that was an exciting moment.
Yeah.
And so now, you know, we've kind of held steady state for quite a while. We had a large inflow of money about 7 or more years ago. And now we've got this extra 2,000. And so I assume that we might, even with our yearly budget of around $500, we'd hold at some type of steady state at this large amount. And so I think we've identified that we have a budget surplus, which is exciting. Our standard yearly budget would include any AV equipment that we need, any t-shirts, which we just purchased one grouping of, registrations for events, of which a couple are already reimbursed by the parent chapter, so they don't, I'll have to double check, but I guess they don't take it out of our local chapter. And then the Zoom fee, which they take out of our local chapter amount, I think that was about $150 a year. For the Zoom fee, it's not too much. I know we talked in the past about space rental, and so I think that if we, in the future, we did any space rental that wasn't understruck for meetings, or if we decided to put the equipment somewhere, which we might need to do because my barn might need to be demoed at some point. So, you know, equipment storage rental, that sort of thing, that would increase our budget. Do you have any questions?
I was just, the consulting thing, I kind of forgot or didn't ever figure out what that was and how we got to 2,000.
Well, so the background on that is that Cecilia had identified that EV Hybrid Noir, EV Noir, the consultancy, was retained by Sonoma Clean Power to do a big kind of community research and advisement project. And Cecilia kind of kicked it off, and then I got involved a little bit, and we attended these weekly meetings and kind of backed each other up and volunteered our list and emailed out to NBEAA Club and asked for volunteers to participate in focus groups that EV Noir ran. And then Cecilia did a bunch in Mendocino County as well to try to recruit people. And I did some outbound calls and things like that. They really wanted kind of, we helped more with rural residents, but we also tried to reach out to any people in the Latino community that they were interested in kind of reaching out to. And we also kind of provided our expert opinions on whether they were on the right track based on what their findings were. And so it was like a bunch of weekly meetings and a few outbound messages and some recruitment and some advisement on the back end. And then there was like a public comment period, and Jerry and Dominic and I and Cecilia all attended the public comment kind of meeting was at Sonoma Clean Power. And all of this kind of led back to some findings that I think I reported on in a previous meeting. So we covered that, but it was $2,000, the initial contract.
Plus, they were supposed to pay $100 since I got interviewed. I said $100 for
there's a little looseness in it, and there was like one person who was highly involved who just disappeared from EV Noir, and so that we might have to remind him of things.
There was one recommendation which I was hoping Sonoma Clean Power would do something about, which was since 70% of car sales are used for vehicles, we need a place for people to say, "Oh, I want to get an EV," and then go to the used EV car dealership. Because if you go to a dealership today, they're gonna try to sell you whatever they can sell you. Somebody with a focus on these EVs would be great, but I don't know how that would be launched. But,
Yeah, no, that's been a side project of mine for a while.
Yeah.
Just because whenever we do an event like an Earth Day or a private electric week, that's great for that one day, but it's also really the point people to a place that's open to 100% next week.
Yeah, I think there's an opportunity there.
Well, that might be kind of where this next question could kind of lead us to. I thought that we could kind of break this budget surplus concept down and just talk about how much reserve we want to have as a chapter. And if the amount of reserve that we want to have is less than even 50, what do we want to do with the rest of that money? And, we can spend that money to advance our mission. And that, to me, I feel like we've been sitting on too much money as a chapter, and we're not advancing our mission with our money. It's a tough question though. How much reserve do we have?
what percentage of the registrations to the EVA do we actually get something like that? Did you ever find that out? Because I never got an answer to that. Because that's the income that we have every year. So when you talk about the question of how much reserve we need, you have what the cost is, our yearly budget, but how much income do we have every year too? If our income is $600, the reserve could be pretty small.
Yeah, I think we make like $6 a person, and we have like 25 people. Okay. So it's like 25 times 6 annually, something like that. So I think that's why it feels like we don't increase or decrease that much. Yeah, so it's not too much money, but I got the breakout.
I would advocate for like having like a year of our regular operating expenses, just in case something happens, or for like like emergency things that pop up.
Yeah, but that being only like running it all the way down to 500 seems low. We could have 2 years.
Yeah, 4 years.
There's a lot of range in there.
Yeah. Somewhere between 1 and 4 years.
So are we starting with the question of how much reserve we want, or are we starting with the question of how do we want to spend the money?
Well, I thought, how much reserve do we want? And then we know, okay, we know our budget. And then we could have a future conversation, because we want to get to other topics today. But the next things that we could cover in the next meetings would be, okay, now that we've decided that it's, say it's $6,000 that we can spend, how do we want to spend that? Like, let's talk about like the goal that we want to achieve, and then maybe some ideas for how to achieve it.
I have a recommendation on what our reserves should be based on our history.
What's that?
It took 5 years to replace the president, so it takes us 5 years to do something. So if we have 4 years plus the income worth of reserve, that should carry us through.
So 2,000.
Yeah.
I think that sounds great to me.
Yeah. So that gives us
if we have enough
$6,000
people that are like, okay with 2,000, then.
Yeah, so I think maybe over the next time we pull up our strategy summary that we did last year, and then see go back through that list of things that we talked about in that strategy session that we did November, December, January, whenever it was, and then marry that up and say, okay, so what do we want to do to advance that? I mean, $6,000 you can actually do something with. It was $50, well, can't do much of that, but but for 6,000 you can actually move the needle.
And I'd be interested in working on the used car.
Yeah,
idea. Wants to work on, maybe get some other Think Power to work with us.
Or Redwood Credit Union with their auto lot across the way here, something like that, to have those kinds of discussions.
So how many people are in the North Bay Electric Vehicle Association?
In the club group, the members that get the email, about 130 people who are only in 2 countries. A member in London, a member in Oregon, started our business. We have down to California. This group is coming in from Ohio. So we're more than the North Bay, because people have either left the area and said, I don't be following. or other people gave a presentation. Which once COVID occurred, it's kind of bizarre. People gave us presentations on Zoom. Before that, we were always in person. So we had a presentation from the founder of Archimoto. We had a presentation from the founder of a company that's making not organic, but environmental sound tires in London. And I said, you can't have my presentation on the web because this is all secret. But we've had presentations from a number of places around the world, and said, "Oh, I want to keep track of it." So there's 130 people there. Of those, 25, 30 of us actually paid on. So it's not.
How about national?
That's, I think, paid is like a couple thousand. Yeah.
So it's not too much.
Right.
So we got 25 of them. I'm not one of them.
No, yeah.
So of the 130 people in that email discussion group, only about 25 are actually members of that.
And we've never been too concerned about that.
Yeah.
You know,
And what's your main focus? I mean, I'm getting a little bit of it. The main focus for us with the organization.
our mission is to educate and advocate for the vehicle.
Through whatever means.
Yeah, we do a few public facing events a year, Earth Day, National Drive Electric Week, and those sorts of things. Where we work with the public on talking about electric vehicles. Our subject matter experts that sometimes we get called into some of the power to talk to the public about driving vehicles. We get answer lots of questions about charging and range. We get lots and lots of questions.
But there's other dimensions as well. We've had presentations, we have a very presentation on legislation in California that might be interesting to the members. We've had presentations on solar.
When you say on legislation, it's legislation that was proposed by the legislature.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, or usually at the state level.
And then also, one of our members who hasn't joined in a long time, France, he would always talk about, that was and he would talk about who's electrifying his home, what was his own food. Also talk about all kinds of things.
And Jerry, do you sit on any boards?
Oh, yeah, we have a seat on the Sonoma County Transportation Authority, and as the advisory. I'm filling that seat today. I also fill a seat on the Policy Advisory Council for the Metropolitan Transit Commission. We have to do transportation in general as well.
Okay, let's keep going here. Any other follow-ups, Sonia? The kind of the path forward.
This is
something we're working on.
progress. I think it'd be a fun conversation.
Yeah. All right. Perfect.
Yeah.
How to spend $6,000. Yeah.
Okay. What else do we have? Any other announcements, news, interesting stuff? All right, perfect. We do need to kick up the velocity, I think. All right, perfect. Ellen or John? You doing this?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna get us started with this, and I'll try to keep it quick. But my dad, John, and I just took a road trip up to kind of the Grants Pass area in Oregon in our Chevy Bolt, and I thought I wanted to just share with you some highlights and details about it. So on our northbound trip, we took the Clear Lake Mountain route, and our first stop was at the Willows Safety Roadside Rest Area, where there was a free fast charger, which was awesome. We charged there for about an hour and got about 28 kilowatt hours, which was really great. Then we went up to Weed, charged there for about 20 minutes. And it was a charge point, I believe, but it did cost us, but it was a pretty low rate at 52, cents a kilowatt hour. Then we went to Hornbrook, my favorite rest stop. They had 2 different charge point stations there. Both were free to use. Both were working. The interesting thing was they were different kilowatt rates of charge. So we tried both of them out because we couldn't tell which was the faster rate. Anyway, that was a fun rest stop on the northbound trip. Then we spent the night in Medford at a hotel and went to a nearby fast charger at a AAA location, I believe. It was a charge point. We charged for about an hour. And yeah, one thing I wanted to mention, I've recently discovered that PlugShare has this elevation map. When you do your charge planning, you can also look at the elevation. So on the bottom left there, you can see starting in Santa Rosa on the left and then up to Merlin, Oregon on the right. So it's kind of neat to look at, as you know, as you're planning your charging, to look at the elevation and consider that in your charge planning. So just kind of wanted to mention that. We could go to the next slide. And then on our southbound trip, we again charged in Medford at the same AAA. Then we went down to Red Bluff, which was about 109 degrees there when we were charging. So it was, we had the AC blasting in the car. We were 4 of us, our whole family. So 4 of us in our Chevy Bolt, AC was blasting 109 degrees. But we got our charge in. We charged for about an hour and 15 minutes. We got about 36 kilowatt hours for about $22. So, a little bit expensive, but it was worth it because we were, able to then just do one final charge in Dunnigan, where we charged for about 40 minutes, got about 32 kilowatt hours for about $18. And then we're able to make it home. And one thing I wanted to note is that on our home trip from Oregon to Santa Rosa, we decided to go we went through Vacaville and then Sonoma, so we didn't go the mountain route, as you can see on the elevation map there. And left is Oregon, the right-hand side is Santa Rosa, so it's very flat, on the right-hand side there, elevation-wise. Anyway, we just kind of were interested in how that would impact our range. And because this, the non-mountain route was a longer, range distance, but less elevation change in the end of the trip. So, it was hard to tell, but we didn't notice a huge difference in terms of, range impact of that. So anyway, it's just kind of an interesting thing my dad and I like to discuss is kind of, increased range versus elevation, a greater elevation change, looking at that when you're planning your route. It's just kind of an interesting thing to consider. Let's go to the next slide. So just a few key takeaways. We did 811 miles on this trip. We got about 3.9 miles per kilowatt hour efficiency, which we thought was pretty good considering we were, blasting the AC the entire trip pretty much on some hot days, and 4 people in the car plus our stuff. Thought that was a pretty good efficiency. We had the 2 free, fast charge stations, and that really did make an impact. We estimated we saved about $20 because of that, which was great. Like I said, it was, 100+ degree weather, AC the whole time. Luckily, we didn't notice a huge impact on our range, which was, great. It did, of course, take it down a little bit, but not significant. We wished that the hotel we stayed at had even a level 2 charger, but they didn't. And, it's something we're considering, asking if they would, consider putting in a level 2. It seems like that wouldn't be too much, for a modern hotel to put in, but we'll see. I mentioned the elevation impacts. One thing we kind of are interested to discuss even as a group sometime is how we can take a more active role in promoting, maintenance of charge stations, especially the older charge stations like the Caltrans ones that are at the rest areas I mentioned. As you can see on one of them, there was the screen that was sun damaged there in the photo. And, it's not a big deal. It's a minor, maintenance thing, but it just would be nice if there was a little more effort put into the maintenance, partly to, increase driver confidence in these chargers. And then also I wanted to mention that in Weed, the CCS latch was broken. So we were able to plug it into our car and charge, but it wasn't stable there. It could have been knocked out during charging or bumped out. So that was just another kind of minor maintenance thing that we're hoping to follow up with. And I I don't know. I think it would be neat if as a group we could kind of discuss, ways that we could take more of an active participation in encouraging fast charger maintenance. I don't know. I just think that would be kind of a neat project to take on. It's something my dad and I are really passionate about. Oh, and also I wanted to mention that especially in the summer, we noticed, that shade was very lacking at the chargers. And I'm just curious, it's kind of along the maintenance route that I wonder what we could do even as a chapter to advocate for shade at charging stations, because it really makes a difference, when you're charging for half an hour to an hour plus, and it's in 100+ weather. I just think shade would make a big difference, and I don't know how we could impact change in that way, but I think that would be great. And then one last thing I wanted to mention is that we really tried to leave reviews on PlugShare at every station we went to, because that's what we really relied on when we were planning our trip, is looking at the recent reviews on PlugShare. And yeah, I think again, we'd love to encourage others to do the same. I imagine many of you already do that, but we find that recent reviews on PlugShare and other apps really are a great resource when you're planning a trip. So anyway, I just wanted to share a little bit about our trip with you all. I always love hearing from other people too about their road trips. So just wanted to share about that.
Thank you, Ellen. That's really great. Would you have
Question for you?
Yeah, go ahead, Lawrence.
Yeah, so I'm curious. We have a 2019 Bolt, and we have issues with the charging inlet on the car being a bit flimsy. So for fast charging places with heavier cables, we have to hold it up until it engages and the charge initiates. Otherwise, we get an error. Before we knew this, we got stuck overnight charging level 2 at a hotel because we didn't know this. Has that ever been an issue for you?
I haven't noticed that issue as much as trying to position the car correctly so the cable isn't pulling, at an angle. But once we're able to get that issue corrected so that it's not like pulling, then it is usually able to engage and stay locked in there. I haven't personally had an issue with that, but I'm sorry to hear you have. That's frustrating.
Yeah, the common fix that I read on the internet, and now even Electrify America is suggesting, is that you hold the charge plug up against the inlet until it engages. And I guess you don't need to do it if it's not an issue, but I always tell Bolt owners, give that a try so they don't end up with our fate.
Okay, that is a good tip to know. Thank you. Yeah.
It was a worse problem on the earlier Bolts, and they stiffened up the inlet, but still, as of 2019, it remained an issue.
Huh, darn. Yeah, John, have we had an issue with that you know of?
No, but I think we do tend to hold it in for a second until we hear a push.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's, but there is a physical latch in the vehicle, I believe.
I had an experience in Mendocino this week where the hotel's Tesla charger plug and Clipper Creek plug were kind of like full of dirt because people had dropped them on the ground, and the Tesla plug just didn't want to work at all. It would go in and it would give me like a strobing light of some sort. It wouldn't latch. But the Clipper Creek plug worked, but when I put my J1772 adapter into it, it was really tight. And I thought, if I knew how to clean it properly and had like some kind of way of cleaning it, that might be like, some kind of little volunteer things we actually can do without just that exterior plastic of the thing. So I'm not really sure what the technique would be.
Yeah, well, luckily the connectors from the charge providing unit on the station is not activated until it's connected, so it's safe to work with. That's clean. Ellen, I think we've done the same thing. Ellen's always telling me, Dad, check the connector before you put it in. Make sure that it's not been shoved into the dirt and you're transferring that into your car.
Right.
But also to be able to clean it is a great idea. If we're doing that as a service for people, and of course always put the connector back into the septic.
Yeah.
And loop the cable.
Yes, leave the cable.
Find
well.
so many there.
I
Use
know.
cables.
Yeah, drive over the cable. I'll give you.
Yeah, check pins before you plug in. I found several where the pins were bent, and I go to plug it in, and it's like it's going
you
hard,
figure
and
your car.
there's a chance of damaging your.
Yeah.
So, let's take a look.
Another comment about the Bolt is its inlet does not have a temperature sensor on it. So if there's a bad connection that heats up and the DC fast charger doesn't shut down because it's got a problem or its temperature sensor doesn't work well, then you are going to fuse the power inlet to the charge plug, and that's not a nice situation. So I don't know why Chevy did not put that temperature sensor on the power inlet, but they didn't, at least for the 2019. And I think all the Bolts up through 2022 or 2023 do not have that temperature sensor in there. The charger that comes with the car, the level 1/2 charger, has a temperature sensor at the plug that goes into the wall, but I don't know if it has a temperature sensor at the other end. Anyway, something to think about when you're getting a car is ask, is there a temperature sensor in that inlet? Because do you really want to trust the temperature sensor on a DC fast charger you've never met before?
Yeah, right.
Hey, Ellen, or maybe John, I should go back a slide for just a second. I saw that you said the range might was impacted some because of the 100+ degree temps in the AC the whole time. Do you know what the miles per kilowatt hour is typically like in just your around town driving compared to the 1 mile road trip?
Yeah, I mean, around town, it's kind of 3.9 and something latest, but we've seen up to 4.4 or even 5.4, and depending on how we're driving. Is that right, Ellen?
I'm an 18-year-old compared to you.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, so we did some coast driving where we just kept steady speeds at, below 55, and just going around, we didn't do a lot of hard acceleration. We got 5.5 kilowatt hours miles per kilowatt. But we've seen four plus on the highway. But we're conservative. We go 60 to 65.
That makes sense then, because I was wondering how much those temperatures on the AC would affect the efficiency.
Yeah.
Well, not so much the AC, but the heat does, unless you set it.
Well, the heat, it looks to me like the AC takes about 2 kilowatts, 1 to 2 kilowatts. And if that's the case, that's about 10% of the 55 mile an hour cruise rate of something like 14 kilowatts. So it's just got to affect you that much at least. Yeah. But luckily, Ellen and I, when we've been driving, we've been very conservative about having a big reserve. So this trip, actually, we went down to below 40 miles indicated for our reserve on a couple places, which is new for us. But it's, we're building our confidence. Anyway,
so let's keep going here.
Impact, sorry. I think both the car, like the Chevy Bolt has a kind of a rudimentary battery cooling system. It's not as good as many others. And so it seems like we start with 52 kilowatts input power, and it goes down to 25 or 18. I think the higher the temperature, the more conservative the battery is, how much charge it can take. And also, I think the charge station actually has a similar thing as adjusting this. Like we were at one place that had 4 people charging on all these charge point stations, and it went down to something like 16, kilowatts.
The major thing is all of us driving. Summer range is not as good, or it's better than your winter range. So it seems to be not so good.
Hey, Jerry, could you just hit the high points here?
Yeah, I'm going to try to do that.
We're getting behind.
So DJ and I took a 5-day road trip from here down to La Jolla and then back again. We stayed on Highway 101. We were in the EV6. The trip cost us $1.60 total for fueling. And that's because, the first stop that we did was on the way down. We stopped in Soledad, and I've stopped there before. It's really handy on Highway 101. You pull off major mall, go in, and there's two different companies, and this time we're using Electrify America. We only use Electrify America the whole time because it was free for us. This was we only selected 350 kilowatt stations. And I always look at the stations to find out if they have like a building or a fenced in area next to them which says that they have batteries, where they're charging up the batteries so they can dump the power into your vehicle, because by and large, the utilities can't dump enough power to the number of stations that are sitting there. So if you see one that's totally full with people, like the one at Petaluma, I pulled up to that once and they gave you 5 kilowatts. And that was a 350 kilowatt station because there just was not enough capacity for the utility. In this case, in Soledad, it fills up really fast. So we walked down to Starbucks, got a sandwich, walked back, and the car was full. So it's about 12 minutes, 12, 15 minutes to fill the car. Then we went down to Morro Bay, stayed overnight at a friend's place. We had planned on driving all the way down to beaches around and pick it up. In Morro Bay, there's Albertsons. We've got 10 stations there. They're all 350 kilowatt. And that's where it cost me $1.60 because we walked down to Scouts to have coffee and then walked back again. And it's about half a mile. And when the car said I was full, it sat there for 4 minutes over the delay time, so it charged me 40 cents a minute.
Right.
Then we left from there and continued driving south, up over mountains and down. A lot of traffic on the way. We stopped at Ventura at a shopping center. The key thing for me at the stations is this: since the EV6 has such long range, they have to have a restaurant. Because I'm in my 70s.
Yeah.
Okay, so they have to have a restaurant. This had a shopping center, nice restaurant. Then we continued, and then Caleb told me it would only cost me $9 to drive to his house if I took the fast route on the tolled road. And I was driving with my wife where money is no object. And so we got on Highway 73, stopped and visited with Caleb and Katie and the boys. The boys weren't there. We saw Caleb's office, extensive office, and the new house. And then continued on down to La Jolla. And our hotel advertised that within a mile, there was a charge station. Well, it turns out there were only 3 charge stations like 8 or 9 miles away. Go on to the next slide. And I was going to mention, going through Los Angeles, it's kind of difficult because there's so many choices. This is a map of the high power, 350 kilowatt, 150 to 350 kilowatt, Electrify America. Only one company. If I put all the companies on here, it's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, there's so many places to charge. People say, where am I going to charge? Now, you can pick the wrong places, and I'll point out on the way back. I did. One of the problems with PlugShare, you can't tell it the route you want. You have to put a station on the route or stop on the route in order for it to actually put a station on the route, or you have to take it down the road you want to go down with the app on the iPad. People tell me that if you do it on the web, it works better. So you're going to see some funny maps here too. Next slide. And then on the trip back, I showed that I stopped at the station. So part of this was DJ does yoga, and she has Monday and Tuesday and Thursday. Monday instructor is in La Jolla. This is all because of COVID. Tuesday instructor is in Pasadena. Thursday instructor is in some town in Germany. So she wanted to have in-person yoga lessons. And so that was, we're hitting 2 of them now. She'll hit the 3rd one in October. So the one was in La Jolla. She went to school at UCSD. She said, San Diego has changed. To get from our hotel to La Jolla, you have to go on the freeway. There are no roads. And we finally found a way to do it. We have to drive 12 miles out of the way to go to 1 mile to get across the highways. The highways taking over all the local roadways. So you're always on a freeway. And you're always in traffic.
Jerry, did you want to talk about the
what's that?
Did you want to talk about the overage issue that you had?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there was an issue where you
No, I didn't have the issue. I'm going to point that out.
Okay.
So what I'm showing here on the right-hand side is the station I stopped at. It was in the shopping center. I had to wait one turn to fill up there. Then we went up to Pasadena, spent a couple of days there, went to the theater, yoga lesson, and then I went to charge up in Pasadena where I had to go to a parking lot to pay for the parking. But I had to wait, and I go, oh, forget it, I'm going to drive to Glendale. So I drove to Glendale and got there, and I thought, oh, there's one guy, I have to wait for that guy. No, there were 5 cars in front of me in Glendale routes. So now what you can see on the right-hand side is a recent announcement after I was there. I charged the 95%. After I was there, Electrify America said, these stations now will only charge to 85% because they're so crowded. It was crowded. When I left, there were 6 cars waiting to go in. One guy was there with a brand new Mercedes that he couldn't move because they were totally discharged, but nobody ever showed him how to charge a Mercedes. So I spent the extra time. I said, look, he couldn't even get it up to the pump. And I said, well, I can plug in my charge cable into the back of my car and charge up yours so you can roll up and plug into the charge station.
And then you put a sign on Poacher.
Yeah. Rolling. Well, I didn't have to do that. He turned it back on again. He was able to move 1 foot, enough to get the cable into the car. And I had to explain to him how to plug it in. He'd been plugging it into other places, and once you plug it in right, so we never was charging. So, and that's where I also met the couple that got their rental car in San Francisco, and they couldn't get a gasoline-powered car, so they could only get an EV, and they got the Chevy, which they were driving down, and they were waiting their turn. So it was eclectic. There was not one. There was a Volkswagen. There was a Ford pickup. There was the Chevy. There was a Bolt. There was me, and a Leaf.
But no Teslas.
No Teslas.
Okay, so you have to go to the next slide.
On the way back, then we went there to back to Morro Bay, and then we used the station up in Gilroy. That's at the outlet, and that was really nice too. It has really great.
That's where we go.
Yeah, and that was really easy. That has like 10 stations, and 2 people are there, and they're all at 350.
Oh, that's great.
Okay, there's a few other topics. One is that there's Hertz. If you remember, somebody may remember Hertz divested 20,000 EVs at the beginning of the year. What's on their website now is down to the last 346, I think. But these prices are absolutely insane. Here's a Volvo C40 for 33 grand. There's another Volvo, what is this? A Mercedes EQS for 33 grand, and a Tesla Model 3 for 19 grand. It's a 2023 for, I think it's 58,000 miles, if I remember correctly.
That's better. When I first looked, when they started divesting, the prices were like in that low 20, just under 20 for Model 3s. 98,000 miles, 88,000 miles.
Exactly.
Right, and it was the Google rentals.
Yeah, these are all the
they're super high mileage cars.
Well,
so these are all
kind of tangential to that, but tangential for that. But I went into the Tesla shop to see what they give me on my Model 3, which is almost 6 years old, because I would like to get the new Highlander, the new upgraded Model 3. Well, they were going to give me $15,000 for my car with, I don't know, almost 70,000 miles. And so I would have to pay like $30,000 to upgrade.
Oh, yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Hertz had blamed insurance rates at the beginning of this year. There's some truth to that, right? These are a lot of the cars are people that are getting they're not EV drivers, feel like they're getting stuck with EVs, so they don't know what to do. The Teslas in particular don't drive like regular cars. There's a screen and no buttons. And you just go.
I had to call a friend to ask him how I put it in park. How do you put his phone and said, "Here, drive it over to your house." And I go, "How do I put it in park?" But I couldn't call him because I had his phone.
Yeah, exactly. But the prices won't last, so this is a good time to get out there. The downside is this is setting the market for used prices right now.
That's what.
Right. This is as you saw. So I think we need to go into a deeper dive on used EVs. That's been a topic for 6 months and we needed to do. But let's go to the next slide. So,
could I make a quick comment before we go on?
30 seconds, Lawrence, 30 seconds.
Notice that those are all located in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah.
Now ask yourself, sitting at 120 degrees for weeks on end, what has that done to the battery?
Well, these are 3 of 346, but I take your point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Move it started.
Yeah. Cecilia?
All right. This is a political side. It was a debate whether or not it should be, a humor thing, but it's not really funny if this is potentially the direction that our executive government might be going. So the former president a couple of weeks back had a little rant about electric boats, saying that they were too heavy to float or that they are too slow, that they were mandated by the government. I think it was government. It's because it was not clear what was being referred to by they, and that they'll electrocute you when they sink.
As their final.
Like Liberty ships.
If you were here last month, Dom did a great presentation about electric boating. Actual facts of the matter are that there are heavy boats can still float. I mean, we can look at the Titanic as a giant boat. It sank for other reasons, but it was able to float until it hit an iceberg. They could be configured for various speeds. They are not actually mandated by the government, at least not in the United States. They have watertight battery cases so that if they do sink, that they're not going to pose a risk of electrocution. And this whole thing is basically an anti-EV and even an anti-environmental, with the whole focus on sharks being an issue of attacking people. So anyway, that's that.
He said that he has said that if he gets elected, all of the good things, the rebates and everything are going to go away. I mean,
$7,500.
Yeah,
correct. That sorts of things.
All
The
right.
$4,000 for used.
Right, all that stuff's going to go away.
Yeah. Fix Congress to do that. That's
Yeah.
good news.
Also, if I could just add a 20-second thing.
Yeah.
At Thunderstruck, we sell maybe 5 sailboat kits a week. And it's just, this is conversions of small sailboats, 30 feet. They have a need for weight. Therefore, this whole weight thing, may be an issue for a powerboat, but for sailboats, they like it. They have a ballast of 8,000 pounds in many of these things just to keep them upright. And, you take out a heavy cast iron engine and you replace it with a lightweight motor and batteries. You're pretty much zeroed out. But anyway.
But John, you also have the concrete barge.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. There's one about on Lone Pine Road too. It's been there for decades. Concrete.
Former president is a physicist, as we all know.
One of them is, yes, with flat feet. Okay, that's awesome. Thank you, Cecilia. What else do we have? Okay, so I need to tell you a little bit of preamble about why I selected this topic for this month. So two things happened. Camping with some friends. It's a few months ago, and my friend definitely swings Republican. I've known him for years. We have good debates about it. We're still good friends. So we don't take it personally. Okay. And he asked me some really hard questions about hydrogen, and I didn't have any answers for him. I didn't, and it kind of made me do a lot of research to try to figure out why I couldn't answer his questions, because on the face of it, hydrogen's everywhere. It's got shitloads of power. Why wouldn't it be a good solution? And then the officers in the last 2 weeks have been involved in this thread where a chapter president or VP out in North Carolina was participating in a H2 Grand Prix. Which is Hydrogen Grand Prix, and it was part of a modern fuels tech development showcase, if you will. And this Grand Prix for hydrogen vehicles is part of this larger alternate fuels vehicle initiative. And I have never seen so much traffic at the officer level within the EVA except on this one thread, because it was back and forth, and everybody from California where we have 2 events a month, was kind of against the world where they have 40 events a month, trying to push out EVs, honestly, because they didn't, the other areas of the country where we don't have such high political support for electrification was just trying to get along in their areas. Kind of honestly is how I saw it, at least. And so at the end, the president of the EVA basically came out and said, it's been the policy of the organization. You go to the next slide, that the EVA believes fuel cell EV technology is not ready for deployment in the light duty vehicle space. So I thought, okay, that's been out a couple of years, but why? I still didn't understand why. And so I spent a couple days this week and a couple days a few weeks ago, both trying to answer my friends' questions and trying to understand the EVA's position, because I didn't get it. If you think this is a primer, you're doing a disservice to the word primer. This is Dom's understanding based on research from the website, and you can trust the source of why this position is true. So the first thing is hydrogen is the smallest known element. Are there others? We don't know. Maybe. I don't think so. The physicists in the room, both of them are saying no.
No, it's not possible.
It's so small it's hard to contain. It leaks through the lattice structure of other elements. And when it gets involved in steels, it permeates that lattice structure and creates a condition called hydrogen embrittlement. And if anybody is familiar with the Liberty ships discussion, that's what Trump should be worried about. Yeah. Is the Liberty ships in World War II. They built 4,000 of them. They built them super fast. 127 of them cracked in half because the hydrogen embrittlement of the steels had gone through a poor process. That changed the temperature transition of the steels and allowed it to crack as soon as it hits sea ice temperatures going across the ocean from here to Europe, okay? So 127 out of 4,000, whatever percent, it's a big number. We better find out what's going on. It turned out to be hydrogen embrittlement.
How did you get in?
You know, it's a bad process. I know you can harden steels with carbon, but when you try to do it with hydrogen, they fouled something up along the way in making hydrogen. I don't remember the specifics. I know they covered in my materials class, but I probably went to a frat party the next day. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what they did. Maybe it was a quenching process. I don't know. As an energy source, hydrogen is a tremendous, extremely well-known energy source. Everybody knows about hydrogen bombs and Hindenburg. I mean, lots of energy in hydrogen, right? So why not? And, our bodies are composed primarily of water, and it's everywhere on the earth. So
what burned on the Hindenburg was the skin, not the hydrogen.
What caught the skin?
It was a spark.
It was a spark. And the skin caught on fire.
Skin caught on fire with the hydrogen burn as well.
Oh, I see. The skin was the problem. Okay. All right. Good. Thanks, Jerry. So kind of fundamentally, what's the problem? So let's go to the next slide. So hydrogen has a tremendous amount of potential as an energy source, and that's just a fact. The struggle is that hydrogen comes from many sources, and I think the fossil fuel industry wants to be part of the solution of which we've known since 1896. Arrhenius proved that global warming was going to occur, right? And then even Rex Tillerson, as Trump's chief of staff, acknowledged that global warming could be caused by burning of fossil fuels. They knew that in the early 70s. They acknowledged that. That was all within ExxonMobil documentation, and yet they kept going. So they began to create this color scheme to kind of differentiate the source of the hydrogen.
How the hydrogen got produced.
How the hydrogen got produced. And what's interesting is this one on over here on the far right is actually white hydrogen. That is the naturally occurring hydrogen. I didn't figure out how much is actually naturally. It's not a lot. Hydrogen is stuck to something, basically. It's in the dirt, it gets stuck to something. It's in the air, it gets stuck to something.
Hydrogen has a single electron.
Yeah.
For anything that has
a spot. It
So it's the
sticks.
easiest
It,
one to combine with
it gets stuck to something. Yeah.
Too bad David's not here. David knows all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, if I'm preaching to the choir, just please sway, because this is all new for me. It's a lot of colors, but I think the Hydrogen Council started putting out these colors so they could show that they're part of the solution. And then the reality is both the bipartisan infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act, both of them, drove $9.5 billion into the economy to move, to transform today's 10 million metric tons to 50 million, today's 10 million dirty metric tons into 50 million clean metric tons by 2050. That's the plan. So let's go to the next. So I'll walk you through what these color codes mean, because it and some of the investments required. So you go to the next slide. So, you know, the only one that we can, you guys can read all that, right? So yeah, it's a lot to read, but green hydrogen is produced by electrolysis using clean energy sources. Clean energy sources are hydro, geothermal, solar, and wind. Right?
You should point out it's electrolysis of water.
Yeah, thank you, Jerry. The electrolysis of water. So you run electricity through water, it splits it in half. Hydrogen goes one way, oxygen goes the other way. Don't let them mix again because it'll blow back up again. So let me finish this chart here, Lawrence. Blue hydrogen is sourced from fossil fuel. So they take a fossil fuel gas and they blow steam through it, and it splits in half. And then what makes it blue is they capture all the bad stuff. Carbon dioxide and everything else that's freed up in that.
It's actually just
carbon dioxide that's loose. Okay.
Okay,
and then they store it. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
The other parts of the fossil fuel are
Yeah. Whatever the source fossil fuel
it
was.
may not
Right?
be just methane.
Yeah, I was
Right.
gonna say is
If it's just methane.
that's the easiest one to get out.
Right.
Most energy required.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But if it isn't, then we get other.
Then you got other crap you got to deal with. Yeah. So the CO2 is captured and stored underground. Carbon sequestration. There's a whole industry and investment cycle trying to figure out how to do this at scale, because those fossil fuel guys want to play. Green hydrogen is probably what we've been doing until now, before it became blue, where they make hydrogen and then they mix it with, they get it from fossil fuels and they let the bad stuff just loose. They don't bother cleaning it up.
Gray hydrogen.
That's gray hydrogen, right? Yeah. So gray is a version of blue where they don't bother trying to do the CCS process, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then black hydrogen, black or brown, is produced from coal. And again, they just let it loose. They don't care. Most of these processes, the grays and the blacks, are sort of byproduct processes. They're not direct. They're not trying to make hydrogen. They're a result of some other processes.
They're just capturing.
They're trying to do one thing, and then this hydrogen is sort of it's available because of the other process.
I just point out the one company which makes fuel cells commercially for producing electricity for businesses, for instance, down in the South Bay. They use methane, and what they do is they release the hydrogen, and then the fuel cell then creates electricity, which is the backup power source for buildings. But they have to pump methane to the site in order for that to happen.
Oh, and they just release they just release it into the air. Okay.
So they're kind.
And then I was excited when I got too excited when I got to coal, and then I got to the other colors. maybe one of the physicists in the room can tell me what methane pyrolysis is. I don't know. I understand what that method is, but it's a way to extract hydrogen from methane.
It sounds like they get a solid.
Yeah.
Out of it.
Yeah, they get a solid form of, solid carbon out of it somehow. And then the last three are hydrogens are from nuclear processes. So purple is nuclear power and heat through a combined chemothermal electrolysis, and pink is electrolysis using electricity from a nuclear power plant, and then red is a high temperature catalytic splitting using a nuclear power thermal. So lots of ways for all the discussion. I'm surprised the Department of Defense doesn't have its own way.
That was
lots of dirty
that's
ways.
secret colors from nuclear plants.
What's that?
That's from nuclear plants, not from nuclear explosions.
Yeah.
Stephen Chu had recommended that Diablo Canyon, because it has surplus power, at 30% of the time
they split hydrogen. Yeah.
And it uses electrolysis and it's a nuclear reaction.
Yeah. I was just when I read through these, I thought, okay, there's a lot of interesting ways to get there. And I guess you could argue, depending on what side of the fence you're on, whether nuke is clean or dirty, right? Whether it's a green energy source or not. I don't know if that has been.
It's a carbon-free energy source.
It's a carbon-free energy source that has a host of other issues, but it is carbon-free.
It just has that safety.
It's just a multi-lifetime safety problem.
I probably don't know as much as you do, Don. But my impression has always been that it costs so much energy to make hydrogen.
It does.
That hydrogen is really nothing more than a battery that. That's right.
Electrolysis takes about 10 times as much power.
Yeah, can I make a comment?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, it's just
okay. So you might not notice my hand's been up for a while. I'll talk about the current topic rather than what I raised it for initially. So reading from the chat, what did I say? Best I can tell, the entire conversation around hydrogen as a storage form of energy for ground transportation is that it's a push by big oil to continue to be relevant, because most hydrogen today, like 95+%, is made from natural gas through the steam reformation process. And I mean, it's just, as far as I can tell, all the government funding and stuff, it's just for big oil. They can't do as much as they used to, and we still give them billions of dollars a year and grant money or whatever, tax breaks. So I think it's from their lobbying efforts, and the Vancouver Electric Vehicle Association has looked at this quite a bit. We discuss it frequently, and there's really, maybe air transport, it makes sense, but more and more it looks like even then it doesn't. But certainly any kind of ground transportation, it just doesn't make sense compared to where batteries are today, and even more so where batteries will be tomorrow. So I encourage you all to ask who's pushing this and why. And hydrogen is not our friend. It's very, very difficult to corral, like you said, because of embrittlement. And as people say, we can use gas pipelines. Well, most steels will not hold up to hydrogen for any length of time.
Hey, Lawrence, you're stealing my thunder here.
Okay, well, sorry. I thought we were in discussion mode now.
Not yet. Let's go to the next slide.
Okay.
Okay. So Lawrence just hit every one of these points, quite honestly. So I assume that we'd be sort of good with green and white. Blue depends on a lot of hope, because CCS is not really proven, and it's not known to scale. And so I went to look at the EIA data, and 25% of the U.S. energy is renewable these days. If you look at the EIA, it's an enormous amount. I had no idea it was that high.
PG&E is 80%, more than 80% now.
Renewable.
Not renewable, sorry. Carbon-free.
Carbon-free.
30% renewable.
Carbon-free, including the hydros. Including hydro nukes, yeah.
No, Diablo Canyon is not,
Yeah.
And
the Lawrence said everything. So it's 25%, which is an enormous number. Now, from the EIA, the energy, what's it? One of the agencies, they talked about green electrolysis process being about 50 to 80% efficient. I found one company in my research, I was talking to, was it you, Mike, about?
No. Green.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I read. That's what's.
No, it's 65%.
Yeah, 65% is the number. Somebody said that they had a process that was 95%.
I'm going from an article in Scientific American, it was either last year or the year before, they spent talking about hydrogen. And the major reason for not using hydrogen was that the energy content, in order to get the free hydrogen, if you go through the whole cycle, okay, the whole cycle of bringing the hydrogen, delivering the hydrogen, pumping it in, and then running it through the fuel cell, the efficiency level was something like a 10%.
Yeah.
It was worse than an internal combustion engine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that 50 to 80 is just the electronics.
It's just the electronics. Yeah, it's just the electronics. Yeah, the fuels. Yeah, and I didn't talk about distribution because I don't.
Distribution is actually, as you pointed out,
a mess.
Steel. It's
a
major
It's
problem.
a mess. It's a real mess. So
there's a proposal also to add hydrogen, for instance, to our natural gas, so that if you did have natural gas coming into your home, that you could use that on your burners, whatever else, and you'd be more carbon free. But they can't put it through the pipes.
You can't put it through the pipes. Yeah, exactly.
You barely put natural gas through those
So
pipes.
I found this quote here, which I think summarized certainly what Lawrence was saying. Where batteries are a highly efficient way to store and release energy, hydrogen seems to throw energy away at every step.
Yeah.
Electrolysis, storage and transport, conservation back into electricity through a fuel cell. Heck, it even slowly leaks out of a metal tank. So I thought, well, okay, I think we're getting closer to why the EBA says that hydrogen is not in prime time. So if not ready for prime time, you go to the next slide.
Can I just pile on?
Yeah.
I think that the blue hydrogen doesn't really talk about the cost of extraction of natural gas. So, like, you're capturing on the back end, but what you're doing is you're basically greenwashing because you're moving the natural gas into a hydrogen form and capturing the carbon at the end. But, it takes a lot of heavy machinery to pull the natural gas out. But I had always assumed that maybe there were these niche areas where we needed to use hydrogen, but not for like
aviation.
Well, so the areas that they are focused on. So this is our current hydrogen consumption, which is petroleum mining or refining ammonia and chemicals. It's about 10 million metric tons. The goal is to make all of it green by 2050, increase it by a factor of 5. And then expand its utilization as part of a green hydrogen economy. That's what the Inflation Reduction Act is intending to do. These dollars are being chased. The $9.5 billion in U.S. Government investment, taxpayer funded, is being matched by another $140 billion in the U.S. through 2030, and then that's a fifth what's happening globally. There's a $600 billion investment globally to do this. So big oil is going to be big hydrogen. There's just no getting rid of big.
If you're going to go in this direction, to stop you.
Yeah.
I believe that the hydrogen will disappear because there's another process that exists, which is you can free the hydrogen locally in a factory from water, and then you can combine it with carbon dioxide from the air, and you make the fuels that we use today, and you burn those, just as we do in our current engines, try to make the engines more effective. At that point, the carbon dioxide gets released, but where did it come from? It's a renewable process because it's a cycle, and it uses a lot less energy than pulling the hydrogen out.
Is that called green fuels or e-fuels, Jerry?
They're green. I don't know what they call them, but basically what you're doing is you're making a hydrocarbon using carbon dioxide from the air and hydrogen that you pull from water.
I was not going to go there. That sounds like an interesting topic all by itself.
Oh, actually,
yeah.
I guess you're
That's interesting.
gas in this way? Yes. Yeah, cool. And basically, that's what they
Not
were
good.
doing. Yeah, that's what they basically did.
Well, that sounds like you guys look pretty good in the gym.
Exactly, and that's one of the things that if you look at United, the fuel that United is using 30% of the time in San Francisco, this fuel created that way. With their engines.
What's that process called, Jamie?
I don't know what the process is called. I've been reading about it. And
That's something that's kind of
H2O producer. Okay, I'll look into that. That's interesting. Yeah, I just really want to talk about, there's an enormous amount of things to do. Rebuild the pipes. We talked about hydrogen development. And all of the capital equipment that's done has to be replaced. We're talking about, so one of my trips this year, I went to the eclipse with my kid, and we came back from Dallas, and we went through Carlsbad Caverns, and we got down to we went through Abilene. We stayed the night in Abilene, and from Abilene to New Mexico, it smells like 90 weight in the air. It just, the whole area smells like 90 weight. And I thought, oh God, these guys have, there's trillions of dollars of capital. Yeah, it's trillions of dollars of investment. So it's not going to go away. So I think, to think that we're going to transform the economy and then leave these guys out of business, that's worse than naive, honestly. So they're going to try to fight their way to the table, and that's why they came up with color codes, and that's why they've got federal investment dollars.
So you're concerned that like the 140 billion gets spent, even though like a hydrogen car costs 80 grand.
Yeah, it's going to get spent. Yeah, it's going to get spent. That's going to happen, right?
Well, hydrogen car can't cost that. My friend bought himself, and he's convinced he has his hydrogen car.
Cost versus price.
Oh, cost versus price. His price was very low.
Cost versus price.
His price was
Remember, Ford still
get
wraps 30 grand
too.
around every F-150 they push out the door, right? Cost versus price. So
And remember, there's no places to fuel up your hydrogen cars in Northern California anymore because they've all blown
they've closed them all.
up or had other issues and shut down.
So you have to leave the state.
Southern California, you could go.
Oh, okay.
So I think when I started,
Talk towards the microphone.
oh, sorry. Yeah, so when I started getting into this, I started realizing that the bottom line on this particular challenge or this page was that focusing on hydrogen infrastructure and fuel cell electric vehicles, and there's U.S. taxpayer investments through the National Renewable Energy Lab and the other areas that are going to be challenged every day by the Chevron implications. But all of those are simply going to delay reducing greenhouse gas emissions for decades, right? And these are half-century scale problems, right? Transforming this economy, it's not a decade, it's not 2 decades, it's a half a century, right? I think
just like their ethanol.
Exactly. I think it's going to so I think we're getting to why the EVA had such a hard line in 2022 is no, we're not going down that road because of these sorts of issues. Now, I've not gone back and asked the EVA what if I'm right, and I've not thrown this particular grenade into that chat at the EVA leadership level, but I don't think it's responsible for us to just say no without the why or understanding the why, because then we just sound, kind of tinny, right? Yeah, we just sound political and all those sorts of things versus actually having some facts. Because I had dinner with my friend last night, and he understood the efficiency problem. He understood that when I walked him through how efficiencies are multiplied, he understood. He got it before I did there. That you take 25% of the energy and you reduce it to 6% of the energy if you use it to drive fuel cell vehicles. Then the light went on, and that was before the whiskey started. So I was. I thought
sounds like gasoline cars.
Put the whiskey in the gas tank.
What's that?
Put whiskey in the gas
Put the whiskey in the gas tank. Yeah. So
well,
that
it sounds like gasoline cars, where you throw away most of the energy as heat and noise.
Yeah, I mean,
It's good for the fossil fuel companies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
We're used to that.
So let's go to the next slide. So, you know, the promise of green hydrogen is still there. It's still like that thing it's so obvious. It's so conceptually obvious to think about. Why wouldn't I use this extremely abundant, high energy resource that I could get easily by splitting molecules? Well, technically it works, and the people that care about these sorts of things are going to invest billions of dollars. I mean, 600 billion globally is 0.6 trillion. It's a big number, and it's going to happen. The other point I think someone made was that getting your car filled, you can do it in LA. I didn't realize the San Francisco sites were down. But there's a massive price problem. That 1 gallon gas equivalent is now about between 20 and 36 bucks for hydrogen. Yeah, when you go and plug your Mirai into that, it's between 20 and 36 bucks. I didn't source it in this deck, but I found that the hydrogen number of cars being sold had dropped by 90% over the last 2 quarters. So now they're measured in teens.
Shell closed others.
Yeah.
Stations
Yeah.
this year, right?
Yeah.
So
And
half,
so
half the stations in California went away
yeah, right.
in one day.
In one day. Yeah. So it's, again, you're struggling with this obvious solution. And then the more I think about it, I realize that getting all this to work is a half a century. I put there we have 5 years. I don't think we have 5 years, right? I mean, Vegas is what, on day 6 of the biggest heat wave we've ever had, right? The East Coast is being heated up. Other places are cooling really fast. It's climate change. It's what they. Yeah.
We've had half a dozen days this summer that haven't been at least 90.
Yeah, right.
It's okay last weekend.
And
the outside wall.
And the Toyota Mirai gets on the freeway. It takes like 15 seconds to match the speed of traffic. It's totally gutless and no fun to drive, especially if you've ever driven an EV.
That's like reason number 7.
Oh, it puts a new standard for the Prius.
Yeah.
Makes the Prius look fast. So anyway, that's what I came up with. There's a lot. So every website I clicked on in this limited amount of research that I did, I thought, oh man, there's like a year of work on any one of these areas, because there's a company promising 95% conversion efficiency of electrolysis. Okay, that was in 2022. I went to that company's website. It hasn't been updated since 2022.
Yeah, they don't exist anymore. Stanford's been working on catalysts that will improve the electrolysis process, and they've announced a number of times they have it in small trials, but you will see it going in production. So.
Yeah.
But that's only part of, as you pointed out, that's only part of the problem.
It's only part of the problem. You got to build all of the infrastructure.
I think one of the things
How
that
do you do
is
that?
interesting for me, and this is in selling the idea of EVs, is that we've become so ingrained over 100 years of taking my vehicle and going someplace to fuel up my vehicle that when you tell people, fill up your car at home. Now, a lot of people that may not be practical, that's the problem to solve, is to make it practical instead of having it so that you go someplace to fill up. You know, I used to bring the hay to the barn for horses, and when I had horses, I need to go someplace to feed the horses. Take them to the local food store.
Yeah,
This is
right.
something we developed in the last 100 years.
Well, it's three generations of ritual and, brainwashing.
I think we should sell hydrogen like we used to sell gas 100 years ago. You go to the local pharmacy and you buy it in mason jars,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So there you go. That's it. You can get your hydrogen.
It's kind of interesting because I have heard, and maybe you'll get to this, Dom.
No, that was it for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, where I think we're in
have
discussion
heard
mode.
that one use of hydrogen that actually makes financial sense for the process is as a fuel cell in buildings. Like as a battery backup system.
No, so that's bloom energy.
Okay.
And we also use hydrogen in the fuel cells. In fact, the guy who started the company was a NASA developer, and he was trying to solve the problem of how do you make living Mars acceptable. And part of it was these fuel cells he came up with, and then NASA kind of walked away from it. And he started Bloom Energy. But then they needed a source for the hydrogen. And so their source for the hydrogen was basically natural gas. It's the easiest one to do for hydrogen truck. So yes, they're using hydrogen for not battery backup, but for an alternate power source. Or when I worked for Xilinx, we had them on the side of our building. It was less expensive than electricity we got from PG&E. So we pumped in natural gas, converted it to carbon dioxide and hydrogen inside the engine of the Bloom Energy. Then the hydrogen went through the fuel cell to make electricity. And we made it carbon dioxide.
Why don't just get a generator?
I was gonna say, yeah, and that, plug the natural gas into a generator, right? How is this better? Is it more efficient?
It's more efficient.
It's quieter.
It's more efficient.
It's
than-
a lot
definitely
quieter.
quieter. Yeah.
So we are at noon, so I know some folks have to go, so if you need to go. I can stick around for about 15 minutes.
San Francisco just started a ferry using hydrogen. They're running a pilot now. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that a fuel cell?
It's a new route, yeah. There were articles I had.
Okay.
Yeah, I worked on a drone program. I helped do drone program. They had they were using hydrogen. They had a hydrogen sphere, 8 feet in diameter, and it was running a Ford engine. They were using that to generate. They were using a Ford engine, 4-cylinder Ford engine, drive a generator to turn electric propellers on. Yeah.
Because they felt more confident that it wouldn't fail compared to like a battery.
Well, this was 15 years ago, and it was a high altitude. It was supposed to stay at 5 days, and they couldn't figure out how to stay at 5 days. Nowadays, I'm pretty sure they've proven that they can put solar panels up there and stay.
Solar and batteries.
I think a ferry, an electric ferry is
Yeah,
it was probably
No.
5 years ago,
Or the
6 years ago, we had a presentation here. It was something Thunderstruck had worked on as well, which was they were helping somebody with the electrification portion of his ferry project with a sail. Do you remember that one,
Yes,
John?
yes, I remember that. I remember him saying that the concern of, the people who run Golden Gate Transit is that, you need a redundancy of systems. And they had, I can't remember specifically, but they were just really concerned about battery electric because you could have that fail and then you would not have a redundancy of systems. And I think maybe it's just too new.
They saw that with the motorized, as a diesel ferries, right?
They probably have 2 diesel engines or a backup.
They have 2 electric motors, 2 batteries.
Exactly. Exactly. No, it's easy to solve now, but I wonder if it was just.
Maybe, maybe it wasn't practical.
6 years ago when they built that.
I did open the question with Zane.
Yeah, what did he say?
His son is here visiting this week about the picnic, and then typical Zane fashion said, "Oh, So if he reaches out to you, then great. But I did mention, I said that you're interested, if you are interested in whether.
It's just a great yard.
Yes.
Yeah, and if not there, I could probably go to my place, maybe find somewhere else to do it too. I think it's good to just have a non-deck day or 10 minutes and that's it. And just kind of get together. Social.
A third option might be to do it at radio. They've got the charging station.
Oh yeah. And we got $8,000 to spend.
You can park on a street located in.
Charge.
Only one car, 2 cars can charge, but you have to pay to get in if you want to charge.
Yeah, that's probably a good
But you do
idea.
have a free option if you don't have a county park permit, and just there's street parking.
Was there a way to get a group pass for that?
Double check dates. That might be Gramercy Festival. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Right.
12th and 13th.
Yeah, it sounds like
Is second Saturday? Okay,
Yeah.
I can check that.
Yeah, so Ringo would be a definite no.
All right.
Some other
Visits.
Well,
Maybe another spot.
there is one thing I'd like to go back and and ask, see what other people think about. And, you know, and back in the 1700s, I believe it was, there was a volcanic.
Just little?
Yeah, yeah. There was a volcanic eruption, and I think there was multiple years at which crops didn't grow, and you know, and it was overcast the entire planet.
Yeah.
So that is an interesting problem. You know, if we're become reliant on solar collectors, what does that do to our energies?
We need to build up our battery.
You know, diversify.
Turn to wave energy.
Yeah,
Still have waves.
Geothermal, right?
Yeah.
I will
Just take advantage of that little.
That's right.
Let's drop a team in there.
Actually,
Bernie, the bond villain over here for $1 billion.
There you go. I want to check on this.
But you know, you guys are on the Sonoma Clean Power email list, but they're having a big kind of explanation and open house, virtual open house of their geothermal like activities. I think it's July 25th. I don't know. Yeah.
Can you send that link in if you find it?
Sure.
Yeah. One of the links.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can get it posted on the website.
One of the things I haven't seen yet, and I'm surprised Sonoma Clean Power or others haven't jumped into it. I belong to a STEM reading South Bay, and one of the speakers was ex-VP of development at the company that the vice president Cheney was out. Yeah, he was the vice president of development at Harvard, and retired, and said, "Hey, I've been talking now. This whole point of all those dead oil wells." I said, "You go down to the bottom of our oil wells. It's not a question of finding a volcano or geothermal. The earth is hot down there. It's at several hundred degrees, not thousands, hundreds of degrees. We can create generators any place in the world. You know, all we need is a well that goes down. Pump the water down. Then pump the water down, and the hot water comes back up again. And we're generating this. I don't know why we're not doing that. Why people aren't doing go on that? You can create electric generators every place."
I don't know if that's true. The only reason I say that is because my parents have a well that's, I think, 450 feet.
He's talking a couple. We're talking about
Yes.
3,000.
Okay. That's it.
But even you know, not for electric, but for geothermal, for you know, ground source heat pump and stuff, they only go 100 200 feet down, right? And there's enough latent heat there, right? That you can heat homes and things like that. You're not going to generate a lot of electricity, but yeah, abandoned or decommissioned oil wells.
Yeah,
right?
we're not.
I thought there were one or two companies working on
In the UK, they had a couple of them that they started.
Yeah.
It's not like they went towards these volcanoes. They picked a place, they drilled a well.
But they're drilling new wells.
They did new wells.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, there are lots of
Yeah.
you know, now dry oil wells, right?
Okay, unless there's some comments from online, I'm gonna shut her down.
You want to talk about the next meeting before doing so?
Yeah. So we sort of were talking about the next meeting. So the next meeting, we're gonna do our best to have a picnic somewhere, whether it's at Zeno's or Regal or my place or somewhere. Not Regal because of the Gravenstein thing. We'll try to have a picnic. And if we do it right, we're not going to have a presentation next time. we're gonna do this instead of that.
We can do it at Ives Park.
Yeah, we can do it. We'll find this place.
Yeah, I'll be honest with that.
And
how many people are we talking about?
Yeah.
It's probably a dozen or so that went last year. Probably about the same folks. Be my guess, dozen or so, maybe 2 dozen. Yeah, potluck, kind of like we did. Yeah, a dozen or two. Yeah.
I got a deck.
So let's do that, Bernie. That'd be great. Yeah, just.
Parking at your house, Bernie?
What's that?
Parking at your house.
You walk in from.
Yeah,
you walk in a quarter mile, leave your car on the road.
Yeah.
Narrow shoulders, no cyclists. Don't worry about it. But we do have a couple of events coming up in September. So let's go back to close out in August. So we'll have some kind of picnic in August, and we'll put something out in the chat on that. And then I think going to try to get Grant to pick up this incentives discussion at Sonoma Clean Power in September, because that will be a big event. Last year at NBEAA, we had 200 people, I think they said. So we should fill the audience over there. That should be a public-facing type of thing. And then maybe going forward from there, we'll have a discussion on the used EV thing. There's a lot to do there.
Yeah.
And by gosh, we need to have a discussion, John, on conversions.
Oh.
We've got to get a conversions discussion because I think there's a tremendous amount of interest there. So maybe we can talk about your vehicle or help these guys out, give them some local resources we can draw upon.
Support conversions and stuff.
It's what we do is we
And
support our products.
we're just wrapping up. No new threads. And so, and then at some point we need to talk about navigating the local charging infrastructure, and that's really a custom public-facing thing, is the way I see it. And I own that one. I haven't figured out how I'm gonna do it yet, but
so one item that I'm very interested in on public charging infrastructure is costs, and given PG&E's current rates. Right, costs, and there's no reasonable way that I've found to figure out where I should go charge from a cost basis. Right, like PlugShare has the info, but you got to look at every site.
Buy panels.
You know,
panels are the cheapest way. Put panels in your yard. Plug your car into your own panels. You can get 400-watt panels for $150. You buy 10 of them. I'm not kidding. It's the cheapest way. Buy your own panels.
I already have solar on the house. And,
put them in your yard. Put them on the front lawn.
I need more, but that's a separate item. But if I have to go somewhere to charge,
oh, fair enough. Yeah.
You know, how do I navigate? You know, all the different choices and where's a good break?
One thing,
and especially if I'm on a road trip.
Yeah,
that's just impossible.
Okay.
What we should do is get somebody to do a presentation on the legislation, because in California, let's just